and welcome to Norfolk Newsline. I'm Lauren Ahrens, and on today's programme, Norfolk and Norwich Hospital has declared a critical emergency. We've been speaking to BBC Look East's Nikki Fox, and she tells us more about what it means for the East.
Having to add an extra bed in every bay.
Also on today's programme, the 4-day working week, something we all want, but how will it work?
Unusual in the hospitality sector.
And after 5 years as the ITV Anglia boss, Mike Talbot will be taking a back seat in the newsroom. Norfolk and Norwich Hospital has declared a critical emergency. They have run out of beds. Earlier today, I spoke to BBC Look East health correspondent Nikki Fox. What is a critical emergency?
I mean, it's usually the hospital's way of telling the local community and the whole healthcare system that they're not able to operate in the way that they usually would do. And that's for two reasons, usually, because their beds are completely full and also because of a lack of staff as well. So in this instance, every single bed in the hospital is full. In fact, they're working at over 100% capacity. So they're having to add an extra bed in every bay. So instead of 6 people being on the wards, there's 7. And they also even have all of their critical care beds full as well. So that's pretty, unprecedented. That doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, you mentioned that it is unprecedented. It's something that you'd refer, sort of associate with London or particularly big populated areas. How has this happened in the East?
Well, it's been going on for quite a number of years, really. Even before the pandemic, the healthcare system in this area was quite stretched. There's an ageing population. And basically, there's problems in social care. That's where it all stems from. So a lot of the staff who worked in social care did come from other parts of Europe. And after Brexit and during the pandemic as well, because it was very tough on them, a lot of them left. So there's severe staff shortages in social care. Then what happens is they can't be discharged from hospital because there aren't the care packages there to support people. And that basically causes a backlog in the hospital, so that the hospital becomes full and then there are no beds to discharge patients from A&E to in the hospital, and then that causes big waits in A&E and ambulances waiting outside as well. So all 3 of the main hospitals in Norfolk are actually declaring this critical incident as something that's been raised across the whole healthcare system, and it even affects things like mental health beds, which there are a lot of beds still available, but there aren't the staff to staff them. And again, that means that people are stuck in hospitals because there aren't the beds in the community to support them.
Wow, okay. Is this a regular thing? Has this happened in the East before?
Yeah, it has happened quite a few times before. They declared their first sort of major incident just before Christmas, the most recent one anyway. So it's been sort of on and off since before Christmas. But the staff at the Norfolk and Norwich say that they're actually more busy now than what they've been throughout the whole of the pandemic and afterwards. So this is probably the worst position that they've been in.
Now, are looking for a man after an assault on a woman took place at Erlen Park. They're looking for this man. The woman was thrown to the floor and assaulted just after 6 p.m. on Sunday. Won awards at the Food Awards England 2022. Benedict's, which is run by high-profile chef Richard Bainbridge, won the best restaurant in the East, whilst Wales Crab House was named best seafood restaurant in the Midlands.
I'm just really proud of my whole team and my restaurant that we've won the award.
Now, are you planning on a stay to travel abroad? On the holidaying in the UK.
Great Yarmouth is one of the country's many seaside destinations. Places like this will be getting busier over the summer months, as the cost of travelling abroad is getting further out of reach for lots of people. Joyland is an amusement park on the coast, and the workers there say they have been busier than usual since coming out of COVID restrictions.
It's been a lot more busier. That's because a lot more people are having a staycation rather than a vacation abroad.
And why do you think that is?
Too complicated, the fear of what's going on, cost of living at the moment as well, and all that. I mean, if there's another outbreak and they cancel ground all flights again, they'll be stuck over there, and it'll be very difficult for them to get back. So it's a lot easier for them to stay in the country.
I'd say recently, definitely last year, definitely a lot busier. We had a lot more footfall in the park. Pretty much touched on the things that George said. I think staycation, the cost of living is definitely attributing to that. People would rather stay here. Also, like it was quite cheap to fly to Europe, it probably still is. But again, who knows if they're going to have quarantine rules in separate countries, and you don't want to get stuck outdoors. So it's easy just to stay in your own country and go to places like Yarmouth.
And with the summer holidays looming, many people have been waiting to go abroad for 2 years, and now travel agents are busier than ever.
We were finding initially that people were coming in and wanting to book, the bucket list kind of trips, certainly making up for the fact that they hadn't had a holiday for a couple of years. And we are still finding that, but we're definitely finding people are booking their family holidays now again, city breaks. I feel like they're booking what they would have done beforehand, and with the extra benefit of they're trying to get in the big trips that they've waited a while for. So yeah, it's really a mixture of everything. We've got people coming in booking 3-4 holidays at one time. People are definitely making up for lost time, that's for sure.
With all of these holidays being booked, let's hope the airports will be running at normal capacity as soon as possible. Alice Pritchard, Norfolk Newsline.
Next up on Norfolk Newsline, a story you will not have missed. Airport passengers across the country have experienced long queues for security and waited hours for their luggage. Our reporter Paris Mabin-Hume has more on the story. Paris, what has been happening at the airports?
So we're entering summer now, and everyone is looking forward to going on holiday, especially holidays abroad now that COVID is over. However, passengers at airports across the country have been experiencing problems with long lines for security and even waiting hours to reclaim their baggage once they're back in the UK. And this has been happening at our local airports as well, as I found out. This photo from Sean Doyle shows the long queues at Stansted that he had to stand in despite purchasing a fast pass for security. And this isn't just a singular experience. Passengers have taken to social media to share what happened to them. But Norwich Airport is not experiencing the same problems of Stansted. There have been no queues and flights are still leaving. With summer holidays beginning soon, families are really looking forward to going abroad and having some fun. Stansted Airport are advising passengers to follow their airline's advice and get to the airport with plenty of time to check in, even up to 2 hours before. However, there are still some fears that these delays will continue well into July.
Thank you for that, Paris. For our Norwich viewers, you may have seen some roadworks on St Stephen Street. That's the key bus route of the road to the city. Well, the aim of the improvement is to create a more pedestrian-friendly and cycle-friendly routes. Our local reporter, Keris Baker, has been there today.
The roadworks is aimed to improving facilities and access for pedestrians and cyclists. I asked the public how the roadworks is impacting them.
I think that it's a bit of a waste of money, to be honest with you. There's other places in the city that are quite deprived, and I don't feel like St Stephen Street really needed this refurb, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know why they're doing it. Like, this road was fine as it is, and now this road is always congested with people. And now that there's roadworks going on, it's even more congested, so it's just made the whole road like a complete nightmare.
I mean, they're very loud, so
I've said we live in Crown Place, which is right up here. So it is kind of annoying sometimes in the morning, like really early in the morning. They like be using the hammerjack drills and stuff, so that's quite annoying. But
you get used to it.
Yeah,
so
you do get used to it.
yeah.
I feel like they've made the pavements really small whilst they're trying to make them bigger. It's almost like they've done the opposite, if you know what I mean. Like as they're trying to make them bigger, they've made them even smaller.
The roadworks are supposed to help support the long-term goal of reducing congestion and pollution across the city centre. I asked what the public thought about this.
I think that's a good idea, and it's a nice thing for them to have thought about, but also like they could have easily done that by putting some like white lines on the road and road marking it, whereas they're literally building like bigger bits of pavement, which from my eyes looks like it's going to be more of a congestion when buses are coming down, because they'll be waiting to go through the small gaps that they can get through.
The roadworks are not only causing chaos for residents, but also making traders lose business after a hard 2 years. To Norwich Evening News, a spokesman for Norfolk County Council said, "Better road and path surfaces, new drainage, improved gas or water pipes, faster broadband, new pedestrian crossings and cycle paths all mean there will be a need for roadworks."
The extravagant Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations were watched last week by many of yourselves and people around the world. But how are you feeling about the millions that were spent to organise the events? Holly Clement has more.
Platinum Jubilee last week was celebrated by many. Some businesses still haven't taken down the decorations because of their love for the Queen. Bruno Peake is a particular admirer of the monarchy. He is the pageant master of the beacons for the Jubilee.
I will always support the monarchy of this country because we are so blessed with having a monarchy. She's an amazing woman, I can tell you. She's very articulate, very caring. We are very blessed with having a monarch. I would not want to live in this country if we had a president.
Although some people disagree. There are lots of critical things online, especially from the younger generation.
It's very easy for young people these days to criticise something without really understanding the importance of it. Get the facts right before they start criticising others. They haven't got a clue what they're talking about. And if people were not interested in monarchy, it wouldn't have been the great success it was. It brings people of all races, all creeds, all colours, all nationalities, all age groups together in one common celebration.
I went out into the streets of Norwich to see what the general public really thought about the Jubilee.
There was too much on the television. Every time you put the television on, it was this, that and the other.
But it was all down south. There was nothing done for the north.
I don't know, it was a lot of money spent, etc. And I think when you're in a cost of living crisis, etc., it's sort of like however much was spent, it's a lot of money to go. I know obviously the royal family and charities seems to be the sort of the get out clause, but it's a lot of money from my point of view.
Yeah, it's so dismal everywhere else, isn't it? All this other stuff we're hearing. It was lovely to have something, that's not all doom and gloom.
Whether you like the monarchy or not, we hope that you had a lovely Jubilee bank holiday. Holly Clement, Norfolk Newsline.
Now in other news, walkouts on our railways are due to cause major disruption later this month. Members of the RMT union are going on strike for 3 days from the 21st of June. It's in a row over pay and safety concerns. A Greater Anglia spokesperson said they expect disruption and services will only be running for limited hours. Now, has your child ever dreamed of being a star? Well, now there's a chance for them. The Les Mis UK Island Tour are casting their performances at the Norwich Theatre Royal. They are looking for girls to play young Cosette and young Eponine in September. A Norfolk business is pioneering the new trial which could change the working week as we currently now know it. More than 3,000 workers across the UK are experimenting a 4-day working week from Monday with no loss of pay. Thomas Porteous has been to see.
It's the same old fish and chips for beachgoers and the tourists of Wales next to the sea. However, next week the staff at Platinum's fish and chip shop are about to go through some big changes with the introduction of a 4-day working week. Owner Luke Platten talks about what he hopes to achieve during the trial process.
The 4-day week offers a work-life balance that's really sort of unusual in the hospitality sector. We firmly believe in that if we actively support a life outside of work, that releases us to focus on being our best while we're in work. And hospitality is having a really sort of tough time at the moment with a lot of variables that are just out of our control. But the one thing that we can invest in is back into our team. So we feel that, you know, the shorter working hours, that helps supporting the well-being, the work-life balance of the team.
I spoke to 2 members of staff who work at Platten's and asked them what they're going to do with their new day off and what it means to them.
Well, it'll allow us to have more time at home, to do things at home, and to be able to do things that you can't usually do. We can learn to actually chill out a little bit, I think, as well, can't we? Which would be really nice for us. And maybe if there's other venues out there, a bit of volunteering elsewhere we could do. We both like doing that as well. So yeah, something like that would be really good for us.
Yeah.
I get to spend more time with my little boy, so it's perfect, less childcare fees, and we can just do more activities together, which would be really nice. And on my days off, I'm not rushing around trying to get everything done in one day.
Platten's is one of 70 companies that are taking part in what is thought to be the world's biggest pilot scheme into the working pattern over the next 6 months. The experiment has been organised by a group campaigning for a shorter working week, but for no loss in wages. Employees will get 100% of the pay for 80% of the hours they would usually work, with the aim of being more productive. Tom Porteous, Norfolk Newsline.
And finally, it's the end of an era for ITV Anglia. Head of News Mike Talbot has revealed to Norfolk Newsline he will be taking a step back from his role. Our news correspondent Phoebe Lucas caught up with Mike earlier today.
Here in Norwich. But for Mike, his time in the newsroom will become less frequent as he takes a step back from his role of 5 years.
It's been a pretty full-on time. The role of head of news is 24/7 because you know, if you're working in news, you kind of never really switch off, nor should you. So even if you're sort of sitting at home doing something completely different, you know, you've always got half an eye on your phone, and so I've just decided I'd quite like to take a little bit of a step back from that, but I'm not retiring. I am planning to look at new opportunities, slightly less 24/7, shall we say.
With the last half a decade filled with breaking news from pandemics to Brexit, Mike reflects on the stories he's covered in the past 5 years.
It's been a monumental 5 years, really. Within, I think, the first 2 or 3 days I was in the job, there was a big terror attack on Westminster Bridge. I was in Manchester visiting ITV Granada the night of the arena bombing there. We had the whole Brexit issue night after night live from Westminster. We've had 2 general elections, and then the small matter of a global pandemic.
But what will he miss most about his time here?
I think people always say this, but it's true. I'll miss the people. Making a daily news programme and news coverage online and on TV is a huge team effort. We've got a great team here, and I've been proud and pleased to help shape that over the last few years.
After first stepping into the building at only 10 years old, Mike looks forward to trying something with a slower pace than breaking news. Phoebe Lucas, Norfolk Newsline.
That was a lovely report. We wish Mike all the best. Well, thank you for tuning in to Norfolk Newsline today. That is all we have time for. Have a lovely weekend.